There's a kind of loneliness that makes no sound, no tears, no dramatic sorrow. It just sits quietly beside you every day, between laughter, between work, between unread messages. You're not abandoned. It's just that no one is really there with you. You smile, and people smile back. You say, "I'm fine," and someone believes you. But when you return to your familiar room, turn off all the lights, the world suddenly feels too vast, and your heart too small to fill it. Everything seems fine, except for the feeling inside you. That quiet, unnameable weight that never fades, no matter how much you sleep, how many people you talk to, or how hard you work to stay distracted. You once thought loneliness meant having no one around. But one day, sitting in the middle of a crowd, surrounded by laughter, you realize loneliness is when no one is close enough to truly touch you. You still exist, but somehow you're nowhere to be found. You start getting used to keeping everything inside, used to polite smiles, used to typing a message, then deleting it, used to telling a story halfway, only to realize no one's really listening. And eventually, you stop expecting. Because you know, if you hope, you'll be disappointed again. But if you stay silent, at least you won't be hurt. There are nights when you stare at the glowing screen, wishing someone would text first, but nothing happens. You sigh and whisper, "It's okay, I'm used to it." Yet deep down, the most frightening thing isn't the silence itself, it's when you start believing you deserve it. Some people don't have friends, not because they're cold or distant, but because they once cared too deeply. They used to listen with their whole heart, to reach out first, to understand others sincerely, until they realized not everyone does the same. They learned quietly and painfully that in this world, sincerity can hurt faster than indifference. So now, they still talk, still smile, still show up. They go for coffee, attend gatherings, reply to messages on time, but somewhere deep inside, they know they're only present, not truly there. Conversations no longer bring connection, only the echo of familiar sounds. Sometimes they laugh naturally, but in the back of their mind, a quiet question lingers. Does anyone really see me? People without friends are often the ones who feel the most. They notice when someone's tone changes, when a gaze drifts away, when silence grows too thick between words. They can sense distance before it's spoken, and when it happens, they don't ask why. They simply step back, softly, until they're out of reach. No one knows how hard they once tried to hold on. They were the first to text, to check in, to create chances to stay close. But after being forgotten too many times, they began to stop, not because they stopped caring, but because they were tired of being the only one who did. And so they slowly closed their hearts. They choose home over crowds, silence over explanations, observation over self-disclosure. They become gentle, polite, easy to be around, and it makes others think they don't need anyone. But in truth, they're just living behind a soft kind of armor, where no one can hurt them anymore, but no one can truly touch them either. When someone asks if they're lonely, they often smile. A small, quiet smile, somewhere between irony and acceptance, because they know loneliness isn't about being alone. It's about having the whole world around you and still having no one close enough to hear what your heart is trying to say. They're not distant out of pride, but out of protection. The paradox within them is that they crave understanding, yet fear being seen too clearly. They want closeness, but also need space. They want connection, but fear losing the fragile peace they've built from years of heartbreak. So they live between two worlds, the world of others, where they act just right, and the world of their own, where they can finally rest. Perhaps they're not truly friendless. They're just waiting for someone whose presence feels like home, where they can be themselves without losing the quiet they fought so hard to find. Perhaps the real reason they began to lose people wasn't because of the world outside, but because of what happened inside their own minds. When you've been isolated for too long, the brain starts to treat silence as a safe place. It gets used to not having to explain, not having to feel disappointed, not waiting for anyone to reply or keep their promises. Gradually, quietness becomes a kind of armor, and the outside world begins to feel like a threat. Psychologically, the feeling of disconnection from others affects us much like physical pain. The brain reacts to loneliness in the same way it does to injury. It activates the same emotional regions, making your heart race, your sleep restless, and joy harder to reach. You begin to live in a state of emotional survival, trying to exist in a noisy world by shrinking yourself just enough to feel safe. At first, you only want a break. No messages, no conversations, no social plans. But that break stretches. A week, a month, a year. You grow comfortable not having to fake smiles or explain yourself. You call it peace, but in truth, it's only a temporary shelter your mind built to protect you. And like all defenses, it slowly turns into a cage. The longer you stay there, the harder it becomes to speak, to reach out, to trust. You start to forget what it feels like to look someone in the eyes and feel seen. Loneliness doesn't just make people sad, it erases their language of connection. When you stop practicing vulnerability, you forget how to express what you need, how to say, "I miss you," or "I need someone." The mind tells you silence will keep you safe, but really, silence only widens the distance. Your body keeps living, but your inner world dims, like a once warm house, now filled only with the sound of wind passing through closed windows. And the cruelest part is, you begin to think everyone else has changed, that the world has grown colder. But in truth, you're the one who drifted too far away. You no longer believe anyone could truly understand you, so you stop looking. You no longer believe anyone could stay, so you stop opening up. You tell yourself you're fine, but deep down, you know you're only avoiding what terrifies you most, being fully seen and then left behind again. You're not avoiding people. You're surviving the memory of once being abandoned, and each time it happens, your mind builds another wall, one that looks calm, but behind it lives an entire world that never got the chance to be loved. You want to be close to someone, but the moment they approach, fear rises in your chest. You want to speak, to finally let it all out, but when the chance comes, your throat tightens and words dissolve. You want to be seen, understood, heard, yet at the same time, you want to disappear so no one can hurt you again. You know you're conflicted, you see it clearly, but you have no idea how to step out of yourself. So you choose silence. You speak less, appear less, and learn to live with the emptiness as if it's just another part of who you are. You keep yourself busy, make things look fine, but deep down you know you're slowly losing the ability to trust. Every time someone enters your life, you no longer think about beginnings, only about when they'll leave. You don't try to hold on. You don't hope. You don't even feel disappointed anymore. Everything simply fades, like you're standing in a sea of people, yet no one can touch you. You say you don't need anyone, that you're used to being alone, that the quiet feels good. But sometimes, in the middle of the night, you still unlock your phone, scroll through your contacts, then lock it again. You're not sure who or what you're waiting for. You just know there's still a small part of you hoping someone will understand the words you never say. And then you smile, shake your head, and whisper to yourself, "It's okay, I'm fine." But the truth is, you're not fine. You've just become too used to having to be. There's a kind of exhaustion that doesn't come from work or life, but from constantly pretending you don't need connection, while every cell in your body still longs for a touch, a glance, a sincere, "How are you really?" Loneliness makes you protect yourself by isolating. The more you fear being abandoned, the sooner you leave first. The more you fear being hurt, the higher your walls grow, until even you can no longer hear your own voice inside. And when someone truly tries to get close, you don't believe them. You question kindness, doubt care, because they remind you of the times you once trusted and then lost. You know you're stuck in a loop with no exit, but at least within it, you feel safe. Not happy, not alive, just safe. And in the world of the wounded, sometimes safety feels more valuable than anything else. You're not distant out of pride, nor isolated out of disdain. You're just trying to survive in a world where sincerity once made you bleed. You stay with your silence, not because you love being alone, but because it's the only place left where you don't have to be afraid anymore. But maybe there's nothing wrong with you at all. Maybe you're just tired of always being the strong one, tired of pretending you don't need anyone, tired of saying you're fine when there's an emptiness quietly echoing inside. Maybe your body and your soul are simply speaking up, softly but truthfully, telling you it's time to stop running, because no one can outrun themselves forever. You're not lonely because you're hard to love. You're lonely because you once got hurt when you tried to get close. You're not afraid of connection. You're just scared that if you open your heart again, everything will fall apart like it did before. But what you haven't realized yet is this: that fear no longer protects you. It only keeps you stuck in the same old place. A place that's safe, yes, but also unreachable. When you stop trying so hard to be understood, you finally begin to hear yourself again. When you stop chasing the ones who are no longer there, you discover that you're still here, still breathing, still living, still capable of beginning again. You don't need someone else to fill your loneliness. Sometimes, all you need is to sit down, listen to your heartbeat, and take a deep breath. Because in that moment, you're no longer the one left behind. You're the one coming home. When your heart stops resisting, everything inside begins to soften. And in that stillness, you realize maybe you never truly wanted to avoid people. You just wanted a place safe enough to take off the mask. Maybe peace isn't found in someone who fills the emptiness. Peace is found when you learn to sit with that emptiness and no longer feel afraid. When you understand that loneliness doesn't destroy you, it teaches you honesty. You don't have to run from your emotions. They're not here to harm you. They're here to be heard, to be acknowledged. So let yourself be fragile. Let yourself be sad. Let yourself need someone. Don't try to be strong all the time, because sometimes the bravest thing you can do is admit that you're not okay. To say, I'm tired. To stay with your feelings without needing to fix them. You may think you're broken, but really you're just relearning how to love, starting with yourself. Not everything that breaks needs to be repaired. Some things just need to be held and left in peace. And if you're hearing these words right now, it's probably not an accident. Maybe a part of you still wants to be saved, still wants to be understood, still wants someone to tell you that you're not alone in this feeling. So let me say it for you. You're not broken. You're just learning how to be human again. You don't have to fix yourself to be loved. You don't have to become more interesting, stronger, or more likable for someone to stay. You weren't born to please this world. You were born to feel it deeply, honestly, and sometimes tenderly. Maybe you've spent too much time trying to become the easy, safe, or good enough version of yourself in someone else's eyes. But now you've begun to understand that true peace doesn't live in how others see you. It lives in how gently you treat yourself. Healing isn't a destination. It doesn't come when you have more friends or when people begin to love you more. It happens in those quiet moments when you pause long enough to tell yourself, I've done enough. When you stop forcing yourself to be okay and simply allow yourself to rest, to feel tired, to be sad, that's when healing begins. You don't always have to move forward. Sometimes standing still is also a way of moving on. Let your body rest. Let your mind breathe. Drink a glass of water without doing anything else. Listen to a song without trying to understand the lyrics. Sit quietly in your room without feeling guilty for not being productive. The world won't fall apart if you slow down a little. Life doesn't measure your worth by how fast you go, but by how gently you continue to live, even after being hurt. Maybe you don't have anyone to share everything with right now, but that doesn't mean you're invisible. Maybe you don't feel needed, but that doesn't mean you're not enough. Your existence itself is proof of something profound, that even when the human heart breaks, it can still choose to love, to trust, to live again. Not because the world deserves it, but because you do. And if you feel lonely, don't rush to chase it away. Let loneliness sit beside you like an old friend. It's not here to hurt you. It's here to remind you that your heart still feels, that you still have the capacity to care, even in a world that sometimes forces you to go numb. You don't need to become someone else to be loved. You just need to start being gentle with yourself. Tell yourself the words you once longed to hear from others. It's okay. You've done your best. I'm still here. Because sometimes the person you've been waiting for to finally hold you has never really been far away. They've been right here, quietly waiting inside your heart for you to come home. One day, you'll wake up and realize that the heaviness isn't there anymore. Nothing big will have happened. No new person entering your life, no grand change unfolding. It's just that on that morning, you won't feel the need to pretend to be strong anymore. You'll make a cup of coffee, watch the light slip through the window, and in that quiet moment, you'll know you're truly here. Not to make anyone happy, not to prove you're okay, but simply to live. Softly, slowly, the way the world has always turned around you, never really leaving. Loneliness won't frighten you anymore. It will simply be a quiet space, wide enough for you to finally hear your own heart clearly. You won't need anyone to fill it, because you've learned how to listen to yourself and realized that real peace was never about having someone beside you. It was about stopping the habit of abandoning yourself. You'll smile when you see someone else happy, not out of envy or ache, but out of recognition. You remember that feeling, and you know it will find you again someday. Then you'll look around your room, the same room that once felt suffocating with silence, and it will suddenly feel lighter. Not because it has changed, but because your gaze has. You'll begin to understand that peace isn't a destination, it's a perspective. Not everyone has to understand you. It's enough that you've learned to understand yourself with gentleness. You'll stop searching for someone to rescue you from loneliness, because you've learned to hold your own hand and walk out of the darkness using the quiet light within your chest. Maybe you still don't have many friends. Maybe you still walk home alone after work, still eat dinner in a quiet kitchen, and listen to songs that remind you of days long gone. But now, it doesn't feel empty anymore, because within that stillness, you can feel life returning. Slow, but real. No one else may notice, but you do. You're slowly coming back. And maybe happiness isn't being surrounded by many people, but being able to sit alone and still feel whole. No words, no proof, no need to be understood. Just you, here, quietly, patiently, and gentle enough to stay with yourself. Because sometimes, the peace you've been searching for all this time isn't a new person, but the part of you that got lost along the way. The part that knows how to smile at the wind, forgive the past, and understand that life doesn't have to be perfect to be beautiful. And if today you still feel like you have no one, remember this: you still have yourself, the one who's been through everything, who knows you better than anyone, and who's still here, quietly, honestly, faithfully. True peace isn't when someone finally arrives, it's when you're no longer afraid to stay.